And then healthcare is a problem. Until they find me, there's nobody that knows Down syndrome or the special healthcare needs that they might have, and that they might need or not need. And so sometimes it makes it hard. They get treated for things that are important and maybe miss some things that are. Some of them don't talk, and so it causes challenges trying to figure out what's wrong with them if they're not feeling good. And it creates a new set of issues. So yeah, there's some challenges, but the parents are generally wonderful folks, and they just want to do what's best for the kid.
So then at your clinic, what does a typical day look like for you?
Oh, you don't really want to know that. It's in my Down syndrome clinic, because I'm a family nurse practitioner, so I see patients without Down syndrome, but usually if I'm in the clinic, there's somebody with Down syndrome sitting out in the lobby. But in my Down syndrome clinic, I go in and my nutritionist, my dietitian goes in and talks with them about diet and exercise and that sort of thing. And then I go in and do a pretty extensive health history. And some of the questions that I ask are unique to my population. So why do you think, I asked them, what's your favorite TV show and what's your favorite movie? And why do you think I asked that?
Make them comfortable.
Partly. Any other thoughts about my answer?
See the level.
Yeah, yeah. It's very different when I'm talking to somebody, I say, what's your favorite TV show? And they tell me SpongeBob. Then one of my little gals, it's NCIS. She likes Gibbs. And Tony's not there anymore, but that's, so she has she's functioning at a very different level. They function at a very different level that, like Jaws. We've got lots of guys that like Jaws. Versus somebody that watches Strawberry Shortcake movies. So it kind of tells me at what level they function at, what they're doing. And some things that they like to do. I ask them, what's your favorite thing to do? And if it's coloring, then that tells me one thing. If it's typing on the computer or scanning the internet, that's something else. Or playing video games. So I can kind of tell what they're doing. So some of the questions I ask unique. Then I do a complete physical exam, and that takes me about an hour to see them do all that. And then we sit down and talk about it. We usually do labs because my guys are a lot of them, probably half of them, have problems with their thyroid, and so that has to be evaluated. So I do those kind of things, and then I tell the parents, I'll call them when I get the results back and discuss about what we need to do next. So it's kind of a long appointment at first, but there's some unique health care things that we need to think about with my guys. So just out of curiosity, do you know what the average lifespan of an adult with Down syndrome is?
The 30s.
What do you guys think?
Maybe 40s.
Okay. 61. 61. So probably the most interesting thing about this is we don't even know what normal is in this population yet. We don't know what a normal, we haven't had enough of normal of kids living to be 61, 62 to know what that looks like yet. We know what it looks like so far, but this generation that's coming, you guys are going to look very different than what we're seeing now. What we're seeing now are survivors. When my guys that are 40, 50 now, when they were born, the conversation went like this: I'm so sorry, you have a child with Down syndrome, just put them in an institution because they'll never amount to anything, and you might as well get on with your life and raise your other kids and not do this to your family. So they're never gonna do anything, they're never gonna go to school, not gonna do anything, just put them in. And that's how the conversations went. Now the conversations go, congratulations, you have a baby. They have Down syndrome. He's going to do everything everybody else did. He's just going to do it a little bit slower pace. But he's going to walk, he's going to talk, he's going to go to school, he's going to be able to have a job, and he's going to So parents whose kids are 40, 50 said, no, I'm not putting him in an institution, I'm taking him home. And then they had to go to the school and say, look, you have to let him into school. You have to. And then, you know, they said, there has to be some programs for them after they get to high school. There has to be. So they develop programs, day services. So they fought for everything for the kids. And now, when they go home, they're met with people that are supportive. They're met with people that have been there. They get early infant stimulation programs. They get into preschool early. You know, by the time the kids hit kindergarten, they've been in school 3 or 4 years. They've been in preschools and all sorts of things. And so it's a very different population. I had a 6th grader who got an iPad. They love iPads. My guys love iPads. And he hacked into his dad's Apple account and bought games like War or Black Ops, or spent $80. And his dad said, who bought this stuff? And how'd you find out what my God? And he hacked into it. And he's that smart. I just feel pleased if I get it turned on and but he hacked into his dad's account. He hacked into the school's hardware. And he didn't tell him to stop it. And so he's going to have very different skills when he gets out of high school than my guys do now. The typical jobs my guys now have are sackers at grocery store, bus boys, bussing tables at these restaurants. Your generation is not going to be satisfied with that. They're going to want office jobs, data entry jobs. They're going to want, receptionists kind of things that they secretary. Those are the kind of jobs they're going to be able to do. So it'll be interesting to watch because it's going to change our expectations of what they can do and what they can't do. So when I look at them, I have to, wonder how things are going to look for them in a few years when I see, 19-year-olds, because it's going to be different than when I see my 15 and 16.
When someone is first born, what is the process of diagnosing them with Down syndrome?
For most of the kids, well, let me go back a little bit. There's 3 kinds of Down syndrome. Have you had genetics? No? Okay. Okay. So we all have a set number of chromosomes, 46. You get one from mom, one from dad. Then you have 2 chromosomes that determine your sex. Okay. So you guys are all XXs. Okay, 2 X's. Your dads are XY. So you get one of those from each of your parents. So the 3 types of chromosomes, the 3 types of Down syndrome is trisomy 21. That means in the 21st chromosome, they got 3 copies of it somewhere. Okay, so somebody donated 2 copies of 21. The other person donated 1. And generally that's mom. Generally mom's the one that donates 2 copies. As we get older, the chromosomes get sticky and they don't separate very easily, and so it's easy to donate 2 because they get stuck together. So that's one kind where you just have 3 21s and that's the end of that. Then there's one kind where one of the 21s is hooked on to another chromosome. And I think it's 13 or 14. I can't remember right off the bat. Now, generally, one of the parents have that chromosome, but they don't have Down syndrome, but they have this odd chromosome. But then when you look down at the number 21, it's a blank. There's 1 and a blank. So they were perfectly normal. They had the right number, it's just in a different configuration. Well, the kids that have this kind of chromosome get the odd chromosome, and then they get 2 of the 21s. So they have 3 21s. It's just that it looks a little bit different. Then the final one is where, for some reason, something flips, and part of their cells have Down syndrome, have 3 21s, and part of them don't. So they have some of the characteristics, but not all. So, for most of the kids that have the first or second kinds, you can tell at birth by just looking at them. There are some certain facial features, certain body features that tells you that this kid has Down syndrome. It's a little bit harder. They call those mosaics, that some of the cells have and some of them don't, and it's a little bit harder with them. But when you look at them and you think they have Down syndrome, then they do a genetic study. Generally check their chromosomes. Now, a lot of moms, when they're older, they'll have an amniocentesis, and that looks at the baby's chromosomes, and then they can tell if there's 3 there. They know what the baby has, and so they can tell more. Some of the characteristics of a baby with Down syndrome is they kind of have a very flat, they don't have any cheekbones much, they have a really small chin, and a kind of a large tongue, so it really fills up everywhere. Their ears are set down a little bit lower. Sometimes their eyes have a tilt to them. They don't have, if you feel on the back of your head, you know how it comes in? They don't have that, they're just flat. If you look at their hands, I know that this is not something you guys lay awake and think about at night, but do you ever wonder how you get the creases in your palms? You ever thought about it? Nobody ever thinks about it. These are things I lay in bed and think about. When you're first formed, it's smooth, and then as a fetus, you start doing this, and you feel your fingers, and you think, well, isn't that weird? And you know, you do a lot of this, and it's up their thumbs, and they feel other parts of their body, and they move. Well, every time they bend their palm, you get a crease. Well, kids with Down syndrome are hypotonic, meaning they don't have much muscle tone, and so they lay like this a lot. So not all of them, but a lot of them have just one crease across their palm, because this is all they do. They don't do a lot of this. They just lay like this. So they have this one single crease. And so if you see that one single crease, that's another sign. Now, people without Down syndrome have single creases. And every time I give a lecture, this is what the whole class does. Checking. Let's see if they have. Okay, no, they don't have that. And so, but if they have a single palmar crease, then we think about Down syndrome, okay? Their hair is pretty thin. They can have a little marbly appearance to their skin. Babies lay, you all know what the fetal position is, right? It's kind of all curled up. The babies, because of their hypotonia, have a tendency to lay like this. They lay like, and then their legs are so their legs look like that. Okay, rather than being curled up, they're kind of just, they're laid back kids. And so consequently, when you see a baby lay like that, you know it's got some hypotonia, because most all babies lay curled up. So there's some things that we can tell just by looking at them, that this baby has Down syndrome. And if there's enough of those, then you do a chromosome test, and that's how you diagnose it.
And you said the chromosomes stick together when you get older, so is it more common to have a child with Down syndrome the older you get?
Yep. It takes two jumps. There's one jump when the moms are younger, in their 20s, early 20s, and then it goes down, and then it spikes back up after the mom's 35. The only reason there's this spike down here is because more women are having babies, and so there's more babies born with Down syndrome. It really doesn't have anything. There's fewer babies born when the moms are 35, but more frequently do they have Down syndrome. So, there's 40 babies born, and 10 of them have Down syndrome. Over here, there's only 12 babies born, and 10 of them have Down syndrome. So that's why the graph looks like that. So, but certainly, when a mom's 35 or older, the standard prenatal care is to ask them if they'd like to have an amniocentesis to see if the baby has Down syndrome. There's some blood tests you can do, not as accurate as the amnio, but there are some risks. So some moms, and implied in that is, are you going to want to abort the baby if it has Down syndrome? So some parents choose not to do it because they said it wouldn't matter. We're not going to abort the baby. We're going to have them. So, because there's some risk to the baby when you stick a needle in there, and there's some risk to the mom. And so some parents say, no, it's really not that important to us. If we have a baby with Down syndrome, we have a baby with Down syndrome. We're not going to. Some parents like to do it. They're not going to abort it, but they want to be ready. They want to know because they want to meet some parents who've had baby with Down syndrome. They want to make sure they've got pediatricians ready to roll. They can take care of them. There's a lot.